Okay, so I'm back with yet another Gentleman Stationery mystery box. Now, as you can see from the screen, this one is in a bigger physical box, so it's not fitting on the camera. So let's get this opened up, and I'll take stuff out as I go and probably set this to the side, or depending on what's in here once I get into it, I might just take everything out and set it to the side and then go through the items. See what we get here. Okay, get the knife put to the side here. So starting with packing material, as we'd expect. Okay, so we got our sheet with what's in here, and I'm just going to take stuff out and set it to the side. I think that's going to be the easier way here. Okay, and the rest is just packing material, so let's get started. So starting off, first thing we see here, and by the way, I'm trying a different side angle here for this side camera, so hopefully this works out well. But we have from Olive Octopus Ink, a very reflective ink pony sticker. So let's start off. This is a mono plastic eraser from Tombow, and I've actually seen these because as I'm starting to use pencils a little bit more, you know, a good eraser is always going to be important. So this is one I've added on, and let me actually open up the list here. Well, this is the invoice. Looks like this is the list on this one. And see if there's any description written in here. Okay, so this is the Tombow Mono Jumbo Eraser. And they're oversized. So that's the nice thing with this, is that's the unique part, is that they're an oversized eraser. So that'll be cool to have. So let's get that set to the side. Get our ink pony sticker over there. So this is just another sticker, but it looks like, and I believe this is true, that Gentleman Stationery is going to go through a little bit of a logo and rebrand along with the new store, which I'll talk about a little bit more later for an event coming up this weekend from when this video will be released, but kind of a new logo sticker. So that'll be nice. And then this goes along with it. Another kind of newer rebranded sticker. So very cool to see that. Let's see. Let's go with this one. These are book darts. So I already have a few varieties of book darts, but this one's the one I'd seen in the store and I've picked up a few times, but I never picked up. But this one actually has 3 different colors. You've got kind of a gold, a silver, and a copper. So these are 2 different versions, a small assortment pack containing multiple finishes, as well as a bookmark style pack that can be kept in a sleeve. So this is the bookmark style here that you can see. You can just kind of leave that as a bookmark, and then if you need to note a page, pull one off, mark your page, and leave it in there. So very neat to have those 2 different varieties of the book darts. The ones I actually have are the TGS branded. They come in a little metal tin. So I'll throw a link to that in the description as well, because those are nice to have. So let's go next here. This is the Pinco Sticky Memo Pad, and it's in a monthly planner format. So you can see it's got the dates down the side, and it's a 30 sheet. And you can see on the back, it's got, you can write on it. You could stick it along on the bottom of your monitor. It's how they show with the cool little stick figure guy. Now, the way they have that hanging on the monitor is not the orientation of the paper, so maybe that's more of a generic package. But let's see what the note has to say here. Pinco is another brand that's received a lot of attention recently from their pens and pencils, but they also make a wide variety of functional desk accessories. These memo pads have been a shop favorite and allow you to plan a week or month depending on which option you receive. So that makes a little bit more sense. If they have a week version, that's probably horizontal, and then the month version would be vertical. So that'll be neat to play around with. Up next, we have cloth and paper sticky notes. It's 50 sheets, and let's see what this has to say here. Richmond, Virginia-based Cloth and Paper is known for their planners, but they also make a wide array of sticky notes, document flags, and other organizational tools. So that'll be nice. I don't really have much of the sticky note variety that is, Post-its are the traditional, but I don't even really have those. I have some of the Midori pads and things, so that'll be cool to play with. Okay, so this is laconic, and I actually used the laconic inserts in the undated in my A5. So let's see. This is the Laconic bookmarks. Laconic Tokyo is turned into one of my favorite Japanese stationery brands, making not just A5 notebooks and 6-ring planner refills, but also a series of functional bookmarks that encourage note-taking and annotation as you read. So let me see if I can get this in the view. If you notice where it says planning and memo, there's a little perforation there, and I'll take one of these out in a moment after we've gone through all the items, but they're meant to fold over a page so you can kind of see what the spot is, and it'll hold your spot, but then it's also meant to take notes, like it said, for annotating. So those are neat. My wife actually picked up, Laconic also makes like a calendar version where there's one of these for each month that you can kind of fold over in your planner pages. So I've seen those before, haven't used any myself, so that'll be fun to play with. Let's go to this one, and this is actually perfect timing because I own a aluminum ruler somewhere. And this is the most commonly lost item that I misplace on my desk all the time. And I'm like, oh, I need to get this out to draw some lines on this page. And then I can never find it. So another metal ruler is a wonderful thing. So this is the Midori 15 centimeter ruler. Everyone needs a quality ruler, either to use as a straight edge or for measuring stuff. And I think mine is in Midori, and I think I actually got it from Joe. So I got the black finish. But having another one, because I was just talking to someone the other day saying, you know, I need to get like 3 or 4 more of these and put one in like every drawer or pin pouch. So that way I'm not trying to move it around and wondering where it got lost to. So this will definitely help with that. And I actually have something I'm going to use that for after I finish this video that I started the other day. And last but not least, the big one. This is the Reime Padalino zippered pen case. And this is another product that I've seen in the store, you know, quite often, and I just haven't had a reason to pick one up. So this is nice to have an extra option for pen case. And I gotta remember, let's see, does this show? Okay, there's a couple different versions. So this one is meant where you'd have it, where you'd put pens and pencils in here, and then this little flap folds open and it shows on the tag or the illustration that big eraser, the Tombow, will probably fit in there well. So this is not probably going to be for fountain pens. This is going to be probably where I'll put my ballpoints and roller balls and a little bit more durable pens, and especially with the length of it, pencils. So that'll be a neat option for, because I hate putting my, you know, kind of bash around pens in my rickshaw, because then that's less room for the fountain pen. So this will be a nice addition to be able to separate those out and go, oh, I need a roller ball. It's going to be in this case versus which rickshaw did I put it in. That'll just help with a little bit of carrying around organization for things like pen meetups and whatnot. But let's open up a couple of these things and take a look. And Joe had mentioned that this was going to be an accessory, like an adjacent or accessory themed box, and I'm here for that. I've got a lot of paper and I've got a lot of pens, but it's these little accessory items that are the part that I personally like because they make all the other things work better. So of course, the ruler, self-explanatory. Let's get one of these out here, because these are the interesting, you know, you might not have seen a product like this, and I'll show on this little card that it has on the back. I'll hold it up to the side camera because I don't have a book handy because I didn't know what was going to be in here, but you can see that's the way this is meant to be dealt. You have the little tab that folds over the top. So let's go on and do one of those. And I can probably grab, well, actually this will show it well enough just with the fold. You can see, so you'd set that down in your page. You're going to know your spot, and then that sticks above so you can quickly turn to that page. So these could be used in a planner or book. You know, a lot of my reading these days is on a Kindle, so I don't have as many paper books, but in terms of notebooks or drawing pads and things like that, these can be pretty handy to use in that. So that'll be fun to play around with, and having a variety of them. I don't know that I'll annotate much on them, but I do like the tab type bookmark. So those will be neat to use there. So let Let me get this just set aside so they don't blow around or get separated. Okay, let's look at these sticky notes. And one thing that, Joe talks about often in his blog post and whatnot is not every paper needs to be fountain pen paper. And I fully agree with that. There are some things that I'd want to use a fountain pen on. And then there's some things that they're just, fountain pen is not going to be the right answer. So let's test that theory on here. Grab a couple of pens. Okay, so I've got my 912 with Lamy Amazonite, and this is the PO nib. I'm just going to write on here and see what it does. And I can already see, and I'll hold this up to the closer camera here in a second, this is not going to stay on there. I could probably wipe my finger across there, and let's just do it for, there you go. It's essentially makes this fountain pen ink erasable ink. So that kind of goes with what I was saying, is not every paper is necessarily going to be the right paper for fountain pens. Now this is a needlepoint roller ball. And even that, it stays a little bit better. So I think this is really going to be meant for like true ballpoint. So I actually have my Pilot multi-pen here with the Acro ball ink in it. And even that has a little bit of a smear to it. So anything on this that's good to test, I know it's going to take some dry time. So let me peel that sheet off. Oh, that's a great sound, if nothing else. But you can see all of those, the fountain pen. Now, it might be different writing on this and letting it fully dry before sticking it somewhere, but let's be realistic. When you're using a sticky note, normally you're jotting something down quickly and sticking it there and then moving it on to something else, and you'll return to this. So this is probably like a basic, maybe not even the Acro ink, like a Lamy ballpoint or, your cheaper ballpoints or pencil even. I don't have a pencil handy here, so I'll have to test that and see if it makes a difference. But these are still going to be useful, and I'll find the right writing utensil, and that's why testing is important, so that I wasn't going, oh, I have those sticky notes, let me go write something down that I need to remember, and then it gets rubbed and I can't read it after the fact. So I'll definitely do a little bit more testing with this. I'm just going to stick that one back on there so it stays with it. And then let's look at this Penco here. And the Penco, I think it was the wire cutter or something like that, had the article on the Penco Perfection pen. I know that it kind of created a run of sorts. So we're just going to sacrifice one of these to test a couple of pens on it. So we'll use these 3 that we had out and then maybe grab one other. So Pilot Acro multi-pen. Works great, as you'd expect. This has the Schmidt needlepoint insert in it. Perfect for that. Now let's try the biggie. Start with the, and one reason why I grabbed this PO nib is, one, the ink is a nice bright color that will show up well. The other is, the finer the point, the more likely it is to work on paper that's not the best for fountain pen. So if this works, I'll grab, I don't have a ton of larger nib sizes, but I have some regular extra fine would be quite a bit larger than this. So let's see what we get here. And this is the Lamy Crystal ink in Amazonite. Okay, so it's not terrible. And that's another one that if I gave it more time to dry, let me hold this over here. I think if I gave that more time to dry, the fountain pen would actually behave decently. And once again, a lot of these products like this are not necessarily meant, because like Penco, they make ballpoints. So this is probably meant for more of your ballpoint or rollerball. Let me grab another fountain pen just to test the theory. This one is, hold it over here, one of my Newton Prospectors, and this one has a 18 karat extra fine Yovo in it, and the ink is the Mont Blanc Enzo Ferrari. So and I'm just going to let that sit there for a moment. Actually, let's do that. So if I swipe across immediately, and I just did it on the bottom line, I'll come back here in a moment and we'll swipe across the top line and see how well that behaves. And then I'll open up just this small thing of book darts in case you're not familiar with how these work. And I realized with all these different items, it looks kind of like a little bit of organized chaos here, but what you would do for this is you're reading along, and I need to remember line 10. This has and I'll hold this, so I'll rip this. Let's just do this. It's got the sticky note. You put the arrow up, and then it just has about halfway through, and you can see right there, it catches, and then you just push over. And then it's nice on this paper because if you were doing like what's today, you could slide it down and see the current day. But that's the basis of a book dart. So it's meant for remembering a line or a passage in a book. I actually use these I have like a Tomoe A5 in one of my notebooks, and I use this to separate sections. So, okay, the third book dart in is where I was tracking this thing, or the second one is where I was tracking this. So they don't have to be used for annotation's sake. They can be used for as dividers or, bookmarks instead of darts. That's going to be where you have to move it around. So it's a little bit more involved, but if there's something you're frequently referencing, these might be a great option for that. And then the eraser, since I didn't know to get a pencil out, I'll test that later, but I've used another Tombow before, and just these large kind of plastic erasers are kind of a standard when it comes to getting into more pencils. So I know that's going to perform well. So let's take a look again here, and I'll do it with this side camera here. We've had this a little bit of time to dry. So that fountain pen ink will dry on here. So this is going to be, and there's no bleed through or anything like that. So make sure I can show that. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you were to use fountain pens on this, you just want to give it a little bit of time to dry. And that's kind of a standard for most papers. So let's get all this in one kind of overhead view. And then I'll tell you more about the event that's happening this weekend that kind of coincides with good timing of me receiving this, as well as this being from Gentleman Stationery. So the Gentleman Stationery, they've been open for about a year with their actual physical retail location here in the Nashville area. And this weekend, Lisa Vaness from Vaness Pens out of Little Rock, and then Sean Newton, the pen maker who actually made that prospector I was just using, they're coming up and doing kind of like a pop-up store in what is if you've been to the Gentleman Stationery location, kind of the current store, and I have a video of that where I did a tour. Well, in the same shopping center area, another spot opened up that had some windows, and it's a little bit more retail-centric space where the current space is going to become shipping and fulfillment within the same shopping center. So give some variety and options there. But this weekend, October 17th through 19th, if you check the Gentleman Stationery website, I think he's going to have more information on there of exactly what's happening when and where. That'll be that pop-up shop event if you're in the Nashville area, or, it's within a close enough drive that you might want to come up and, see how that goes. And I just realized I didn't put my little planning memo cards over here as well. So let's see, shuffle that over, and I can fit those in there. So overall, this has been a great blind box. I like that this is, you notice there's not a single pin here. And I'm okay with that. I've got a lot of pens. I've got a lot of ways to write, but different things that go alongside, like I mentioned, the ruler, that's going to get constant use. It's never bad to have stickers, especially with the new branding. That'll be neat to include on things. Book darts, and the tin is kind of kludgy to carry around, so this is going to be much easier with this bookmark style to leave inside, like my Galen that I keep my journal in. That'll be handy for this. And then this small card style is probably one that I'll put in like the front of my rickshaw bag or something like that, so I have some with me if I'm out and about, because normally one of those two items is going to be with me if I'm doing something stationery related. And I've done this before, take a couple of these and just stick them in each of my plotters. So if I need something quick access, I'll have them there as well. Eraser, you can never have enough erasers, because let's face it, if you're using pencil, that's what the purpose is you can change things and erase. A variety of sticky notes and other little things just to play around with and see, this is a nice way to try items like this. Would I have necessarily gone and bought this? Maybe not. But now I'm going to try it, and if I end up loving it, then I can add more as this pack dwindles down. Or maybe I use this vertical enough, but maybe the horizontal would serve me in a better purpose, so I can do like their little drawing and stick it on the bottom of my monitor or something like that for a quick glance reminder. That'll be, some time to be seen, but this is a great mixture of stationery adjacent items that I look forward to using. So if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you following along. If you like what you're seeing, if you wouldn't mind dropping a like and maybe subscribing to the channel, that'd be great. And don't forget, if you're in the Nashville area, check out the Gentleman Stationery pop-up event this weekend with Vanessa and Sean Newton. And until next time, I'll see you on the next video.